Black and gold fans, college football fans, welcome in or welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we examine, discuss, honor, and celebrate all things college football across the entire college football landscape, but with a very special emphasis on our beloved black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Welcome back, guys. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks. It's great to be here with you, and this is my Week 9 preview and picks episode coming at you. Week 8 brought us great things, especially for some of you fans of certain teams. Others, well, not so much, but Week 9 promises a lot, and I can't wait to get to it here, guys. This upcoming weekend, both of our beloved black and golds are in action. Missouri, fresh off a victory last weekend during homecoming over Vanderbilt, they travel to the other Columbia to take on South Carolina, the Gamecocks. And Iowa plays host to Northwestern for their homecoming weekend and festivities. And by the way, I shall be in attendance for the game. That's right, my family and I are packing up, heading north to Iowa City to be amongst our own, have a good time, and hopefully see the Hawks bring home a W. Because potentially, for both of our black and gold squads going into this weekend's games, especially for Iowa, they really are must-win games and really winnable games. I mean, I definitely think Northwestern is one of, if not the worst team in the Big Ten, but we all know, hell, I'm not going to hide it, Iowa's offense is the worst offense in the Big Ten. But South Carolina, I think that was I felt more confident about that game for Missouri this weekend before they upset Texas A&M last week, did the Gamecocks. So still a winnable game for Missouri, but I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult now. And I'll definitely have more on both of these games here later this episode, so stay tuned. Before I go any farther, as always, I just want to express my thanks, my gratitude for everything you've done for the channel, all of you black and gold crazies, all of you college football fans in general. Thank you very much, and let's keep the word going. We have grown big time this season here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Please, we definitely need to keep a good thing going. We've got momentum. Big Mo is on our side, so feel free. Click to subscribe, like, share, rate, comment. I've said this time and time again, that these episodes are driven by you, the college football fan, fanatic. You're all welcomed here. This is a safe haven, a safe zone for all things college football. So I always ask and appreciate and welcome any feedback, especially comments, to drive these episodes. I want to hear from all of you, and if you've commented in the past, you absolutely can attest to this, is at some point, some sooner than later, I will take the time to respond individually to each and every one of your comments. So please, keep it up. I love you. Thanks so much for everything you've done for the show. But we need more. So go ahead and just subscribe. Tell your friends, your fellow college football fans, your coworkers, friends, family members to check out the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. All right. And as you can tell, it definitely is pick day. I mean, I've got my black and gold hockey jersey on today. It's that time of year. It's a little nippy out there, a little brisk air here in the show me state of Missouri. And as usual for my picks, I always wear my black and gold game day hair as a tribute to my late great father, who he was really the catalyst that's led me to this point. He introduced me to all things Iowa athletics, especially Iowa football. So when he passed away, I took it upon myself to don his game day hair, just to always pay tribute and say a big thank you to you, Dad, up above. So let's go ahead and continue. I do have a very special guest picker on today's episode. We are right in the midst of having the seating for the second annual Touchdown Black and Gold vlog guest picker tournament. And today, the boss, I'm sorry, not Bruce Springsteen, but you would always be welcomed here, Bruce, if you ever want to join me on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. The boss, and not my wife, she is the boss, but the boss of where I work, the main man, Sam, steps up to the plate and see how he does during our 15 games of picks that we'll go through here in a little bit. So good luck to you, Sam, and we'll see how you stack up to the rest of the guest pickers. So what's on tap for today's episode, guys? I have a very special sound off segment. I promised you, if you watched earlier this week during my week 8 review and recap episode, that I would be breaking this out today. So a very special segment of sound off, and then we'll move right into my week 9 preview and picks kind of concurrently at the same time. So that's what's on tap today. Please, as we move through, like, share, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. So let's go ahead and move into my sound off for today. And finally, I've waited till the opportune moment. I've been salivating for this opportunity for actually the last couple of years. Well, going back to when he was first hired, actually. But now I find the opportunity. What does Captain Jack say? The opportune moment. I have it to finally sound off on this individual. He's a coach. But I'm going to set the stage. And what I do on sound off, I give 3 minutes on my clock and just speak my mind and tell it like it is. And let me set the stage before time begins. This really is going to affect a lot of people. The Texas A&M program in general, the fans of the Aggies, the alums, because unfortunately, you're the victims of today's subject of my sound off. That's right, it's going to be head football coach Jimbo Fisher. And like I said, I have saved this one for the opportunity in the moment, and that moment is now. And what I've done, A&M fans, I did tag you in this episode because I'd love to hear from some of you. Do you agree or disagree? I know a lot of you are upset, and there's a little bit of blood in the water. You're like sharks. So I just want to get your take on this. But this is how I view the situation there with your head football coach and where we go from here. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and put 3 minutes on my running clock. And let's go ahead and get it done starting 3, 2, 1 right now. All right. Just to remind you guys, coming into this season, the Texas A&M Aggies came in ranked in the AP Top 10, number 6, really off of the momentum of signing the nation's best recruiting class in 2022. So starting off at number 6, expectations were very high. And there was a positive outlook for the Aggies of A&M. And also last season, shocked number 1 Alabama, one of the biggest wins of the season. So I understand why, but this is what's happened, all right? Let's just do this. 2 records really quick. 36-19 compared to 37-18. These are the records through the first 55 games when you compare your former coach, Kevin Sumlin, who you all just rode out of town and drove out of town because he wasn't getting it done, compared to Jimbo Fisher's record. I mean, so right now, Jimbo's is better, 37-18, but still, they're primarily identically the same records after the first 55 games at Texas A&M. That's a reality check. So this is what I say. I mean, based off of that recruiting class, you know, people were celebrating, high fives all around. The GOAT, Nick Saban, was basically pointing his fingers, said that you bought, you know, every best football player in the nation for recruiting. Maybe, maybe not. But this season has shown, for all of you who can no longer deny it, that Jimbo Fisher, being the false prophet that he is, he's the biggest college football fraud. He's the fake news. I hate referencing a political saying, but Jimbo Fisher, he's the fake news, guys. He is. Currently, the team is 3-4 overall, 1-3 in SEC play, and they still have yet to play Ole Miss and LSU. They do host both of those teams. Ole Miss comes in this week, here in week 9. Maybe they win one of those games. So there's your 5th loss right out of the bat. And you all were lucky to beat Arkansas in Jerry World. So right now you should already be sitting at 2-5 and 0-4 in SEC play. All right, these are undeniable things, guys. Nobody can argue that. I mean, you're lucky to defeat Arkansas. You just were. So for the Jimbo Fisher, the self-pronounced and coined quarterback whisperer, but check out these stats, guys. He hasn't had a quarterback average 300 yards per game passing since famous Jameis Winston back at Florida State University, where, yes, he did win a national title. I'll give him that. But since then, there's been no results from his quarterbacks. First couple of years in College Station, Kellen Mond was already there in place. Definitely had the best success. Since then, he's recruited guys like Haynes King, the current quarterback, Zach Calzada, and he basically tabbed both of them in 2021 as NFL talents. They're both NFL talents when he signed them, and pledged in the same summer of 21 that both would be future NFL quarterbacks. Yeah, we'll see about that. And also, he has Max Johnson currently on the roster, the transfer from LSU. So where is the quarterback whisperer? Where is these results, guys? Where are they at? Just saying. You, the A&M fan, the program, the chancellor, the board, you gave him complete control of your program. The $90 million man currently, his buyout sits at $85.9 million if you want to try to make him go away. He's not going anywhere, guys. He's there to stay. He has absolutely duped all of you, and it is the college football con of the century, without a doubt. So you've made your bed, now lay in it, and wow, it's going to be a long season. And I know he's bought himself a little bit of time because of that #1 recruiting class, but if that doesn't come to fruition within the next 2 years, you've got to make your decision. Do we stay with this man in his long-term contract, or do we pony up the money and send him packing? We'll see how it plays out, but A&M fans, I feel for you. That's it. I went a little bit over. My apologies. Like I said, I've been waiting for that one, though, for a little bit. A&M fans, I want to hear your reaction to my sound off. What do you think? Now, I know some of you might come back and say, throw shade at me and my Hawkeyes and say, well, you guys are the biggest embarrassment this season. Well, specifically, I'll say the Iowa offense is the running joke of this college football season, and I completely agree with you. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to argue that or even think about protesting that, because I'm not. All right? I just want to hear a good opinion from you guys. Let me know what you think. So comment, like, share, subscribe. All right. Woo! Now that I got my blood pressure up a little bit, I feel good to go. I'm warmed up. I am ready to move into my Week 9 preview and pick segment. I've got Sam's information right here, my boss. We'll see how he does against everybody else. Now, to kind of share with you the format that I do each and every week during my preview and picks episodes, I'll pick 15 games every week. Some of them are absolutely the big matchups that most of you guys know about, and some will be some off-the-radar matchups that still are very interesting to me. And of those 15, I always have 6 specialty games. I will always have my Academy game of the week, which features one of the Academy schools, Air Force, Army, or Navy, as a salute to the men and women of the United States military. I will always have a non-Power 5 matchup of the week within the non-Power 5 conferences. I will always have an FCS matchup of the week, because there's great football played at the lower level of Division I football that definitely needs some praise. I will always pick whenever our black and golds of Missouri and Iowa are playing, which they both are this week. And then I will always pick from a premier spotlight game, the matchup to me of the week. So that's what I do here in this segment. To kind of bring you up to speed, last week, yours truly had himself a good week. I went 11-4 last week. On the season, currently I'm 76-44, good for 63%. And I pick these guys straight up. I don't do the spread. That's a little bit too much for me. I set my goal before the season to end the regular season at least 70% or better. So currently at 63, I'm on track. But I definitely need a few more good weeks like I had last week to reach that 70% plateau. And last week, my kids, they were my guest pickers. They went 10-5. Great job, kids. Currently, they sit in second place. First place is Brett and Charlie, who went 11-4. Then my kids, who are 10-5. My brother, Anthony, Caleb and Amy, my picking couple, they both went 8-7. And one of my colleagues, Brad, went 7-8. So we'll see where Sam stacks up after the end of week 9. All right, so without further ado, let's get it. So my first game, we're going to start hard and heavy right out of the gate. I've got big tilt in the SEC. It could have been my premier spotlight game of the week. But just recently, I had Tennessee involved in one of them. I like to spread the love and the wealth. Number 19, Kentucky travels to number 3, Tennessee. And the border rivalry, this is always a good game each and every year. Let's go ahead and see what I think. Just to preview this game, Kentucky, you know what you're going to get. Very, very physical team. They're going to try to pound the rock with Chris Rodriguez Jr., their running back, who is now returned, and Kavosiey Smoke kind of is more of the shifty, quick, athletic running back. They're going to try to dominate the lines of scrimmage. And, you know, Tennessee just wants to get out there with that offense that's all about pace and space. And they are looking excellent. I believe right now that Tennessee is the best team in the nation, based on not just their big win over Alabama, but their resume from top to bottom. I think they have the best wins. And they're coming off an easy game last week against the UT Martin Skyhawks, I believe, of the FCS. So a big game in the SEC. So for Tennessee to stay on top, they got to win. Kentucky now has 2 losses in SEC to get back in the SEC East race, a game that the Wildcats have to have. So guess first, let's see how Sam sees this game. Sam says, Tennessee is firing on all cylinders, which they absolutely are. I'm going to bring this a little bit closer here because of my old eyes. So he says, Tennessee is firing on all cylinders, but potentially they're looking a little bit ahead to their matchup with Georgia next week in this year's edition of the biggest outdoor cocktail party, right? To control the SEC East. Will that game be between Tennessee and Georgia? Can't wait for that one next week, by the way. This game will be a lot closer than analysts think. Tennessee will get the win, but Kentucky will cover the spread. As you can tell, my boy Sam, he's a little gambler. He plays the spread. I don't. So Sam likes the Volunteers at home. Me, I just can't go against Tennessee. I can't. I think they are humming on all cylinders, like Sam said. Best team in the nation. I think Kentucky tries to slow them down a little bit. I think they do. But lo and behold, Tennessee, too much offensively. That ruckus crowd, they pull away. We both like Tennessee. Next game is the Jekyll and Hyde of this college football season. Notre Dame travels to number 16 Syracuse, who lost last week at Clemson, but looked very, very good in defeat. They had their chance late to potentially win the game. I was very impressed by the Oranges. The Oranges' performance last week in Death Valley. So let's see, this is a huge game for Syracuse. It's a non-conference game, but still it gives them more confidence moving forward. And what about Notre Dame, who loses this game and then potentially falls to 500, 4-4 in new coach Marcus Freeman's first season? Might start to get a little bit hairy there in South Bend in the presence of Touchdown Jesus, not Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. Let's see how Sam sees this game playing out. He simply says, Syracuse will push Notre Dame to 500 with another loss on the road for the Irish. He likes the orange. Me, I'm sorry, it's inside the dome. Those folks will be jazzed up. They'll be ready to play. I know it's not called the Carrier Dome anymore, but it's always going to be the Carrier Dome to me. So I'm also on board the orange train. We both like Syracuse in this matchup. Next game, kind of a big tilt in the SEC for the lower level teams at the bottom of the rankings in the SEC West. I'm talking about Arkansas travels to Jordan-Hare to take on Auburn in the Plains, down on the Plains. Whew, two teams that desperately need wins. I mean, the loser of this game at this point really can say getting even to bowl eligibility is going to be a stretch. This is a huge game for these two programs as far as what their postseason fate will be. Let's see what Sam says. Sam says, with two underperforming SEC West teams going head-to-head, it looks like to be a barn burner in Jordan-Hare Stadium, which weird things do happen there in Jordan-Hare. They do, guys. We've seen this before, all right? Definitely happens. Since both teams can't lose, I will say Arkansas will win a close one and pull to 2-3 in the SEC. So Sam has taken the Pig Sooie, the Hogs. Now, as far as me, it comes down to quarterbacks, right? Auburn has zero quarterback play, none whatsoever. They've got the home crowd on their side, but that's really about it. Brian Harsin, the coach of Auburn, you're dead man walking. Your fate has already been sealed. You will not be returning next year as the Auburn head coach, unfortunately. And I like, Jefferson, the QB for Arkansas. He'll be the best player on the field. Because of that, I'm liking Arkansas, like Sam does, in a very close game at Auburn. So we're both taking the Hogs. Next game, big game in the Big 12 Conference. Another one of these games that could have been my premier spotlight game, but it just missed out because I had Kansas State in last week's premier spotlight game when they traveled to TCU. I'm talking number 9 Oklahoma State travels to number 22 Kansas State. Big time, awesome matchup in the Little Red Apple in Manhattan, Kansas. Like I said, Oklahoma State coming off of a big come-from-behind home victory over Texas last week. Kansas State really put a scare into now undefeated TCU. Very, very well played game. Adrian Martinez, that's what I'm concerned with. He left early in the game, never returned. He was on the sideline, walking around, had his helmet on. The backup, Howard, for Kansas State looked okay, but TCU in the second half was just too much. So I've heard nothing. At this point of this episode, it is unclear if Adrian Martinez is going to play or not. So that kind of went into my thinking and maybe even Sam's. But let's just see if Kansas State can bounce back and stay in the Big 12 race. And this is a big one for both of these teams. Who's going to keep pace with TCU? Let's find out right now. Sam for this game says, this is his game of the week. So Sam probably would have picked this one to be the spotlight game of the week. Let's see. He says the Cowboys' only loss came in double overtime at the hands of a very capable and studly Horned Frog teams of TCU. Totally agree with that analysis. I think that Kansas State will put up a great fight for the home crowd, but Spencer Sanders, the Oklahoma State quarterback, who's been there for 10 years, I swear, like very Van Wilder-like, will have a big game and throw for multiple touchdowns. Oklahoma State will give the Wildcats their 3rd overall loss. Sam's taking the Pokes. He's taking Oklahoma State. That's a good pick. Me, I think it just comes down to Adrian Martinez. If I knew he was going to play, I would absolutely take Kansas State and Coach Klein. Coach Kleiman. It's Kleeman, but I like to say Coach Klein, like the water boy. So because of that unknown, I've got to go with Oklahoma State as well. I think this is a team that is going to stay in the playoff race until the very, very end of the season. So we both like Oklahoma State in this big matchup. Next game is big one in the Sun Belt. Coastal Carolina, coming off their first loss last week, travels to Huntington, West Virginia to take on Marshall. That's right, big game in the Sun Belt. Let's see if the Chanticleers can bounce back or what the Thundering Herd have got in store for them. I heard Randy Moss might be in attendance. You never know. Maybe along with Byron Leftwich, Chad Pennington, all those legends there at Marshall. Let's see what Sam thinks about this game. This game, Coastal Carolina's lack of a serious run game will bite them when they go into Marshall, who allows only 184 yards to remain to teams this season. Very impressive stat there, Sam. You done your homework? I dig it. I think Marshall is a lock, and we'll bet the 2.5 point spread. So he's taking Marshall and Marshall to cover. Me, not so fast, my friend. Lee Corso-like. I'm going with the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina just because of one cat, Grayson Mullet McCall. Their quarterback. He's got lots of experience. He's played several games in this type of situation, a must win to keep pace with James Madison. So I'm taking the Chanticleers on the road to get it done. Next game up, big rivalry in the Big Ten, and I wish it meant more, just like it did last season. I'm talking about the Spartans. Michigan State, little brother, travels to big brother, number 4 Michigan in the big house. But little brother is looking to make it 3 in a row over their older sibling. I love when Mike Hart said that soundbite all those years ago, by the way. So one of the most bitter rivalries, not just in the Big Ten, but in all of college football. Michigan State needs a comeback win. They need something. I mean, they had a win a couple weeks ago against Wisconsin, but still looking to get on track, especially after last year, that breakout season for, at that time, second-year head coach Mel Tucker. And Michigan, will they keep just rolling along, looking very impressive as they have? I think they're the most balanced team in the nation that I've seen. Let's see what Sam thinks about this huge rivalry game up in Ann Arbor. Sam says, number 4 Michigan does not play a ranked opponent until mid-November. True. They won't be looking ahead and easily handles the Spartans. I think both teams will score a lot of points, and he predicts that they will go over the 55-point over-under. So Sam's saying take the over on this. I think so too, but I think only really one team is going to score a lot of points. That's the Victors Valiant of Michigan. I love this team. They're checking all of my boxes to be a legitimate playoff contender. They're right there, and I cannot wait until this year's edition of The Game between Michigan and Ohio State. I cannot wait to see that. They're on a collision course, potentially, if Ohio State beats Penn State. I'll pick that game here later. But I also like Michigan in this game. I just can't see Sparty going there under the lights and winning 3 in a row. So we both like Michigan. Next game, a big-time tilt in the Pac-12 between the lower-tier standing teams. I'm talking about the Sun Devils of Arizona State. Travel to Colorado to play in Boulder against the Buffaloes. Good story. A couple weeks ago, the Buffaloes scored their first win of the season, an overtime victory at home against the Cal Golden Bears. Can they replicate that at home again? Arizona State, it's been a very up and down season. Coach Herm Edwards was relieved of his duty earlier in the season during the scandal and their start and that loss to Eastern Michigan of the MAC. So it has been some turmoil there in Tempe. Let's see what Sam thinks about this game. So the Sun Devils traveled to Colorado as 13.5-point favorites. That's a big spread, by the way. At the time that Sam sent me this, that might move a little bit. Although I don't anticipate this being a high-scoring game, I think that Colorado will lose by 10 and cover the spread. So Sam's taking the Sun Devils. Me, I think I'm on board with that. I think Colorado had their moment. I think it's going to be a very highly contested game. The Buffaloes are a program that have a lot of pride, but I can't go against the Arizona State motto, what they say about getting forked. So Colorado, your fans, your program, fork you, fork all of you. I'm going with Arizona State as well. Next game, big game here, huge game. Huge game, the outdoor cocktail party. It's Florida versus Georgia. Actually, that game is this week. I thought it was next week, so I apologize about it. So Florida versus Georgia. Not much to say about this one. Coming off an easy shutout win over Vandy. Georgia is well rested and will be tackling a mediocre Florida team. Yikes, how many times can you say that in reference to the Gators? You really can't. If they are not looking ahead to Tennessee, which that's what's kind of confused me. So Georgia not looking ahead for the Tennessee matchup next week. They should put up big numbers in a convincing win. So Sam's all about the Bulldogs. Me, I'm also on board. I think this is a 5 or 6 loss Florida team under first-year coach Billy Napier, who's still looking to find a little bit of traction, but I don't think his seat's very hot. Not yet there at Florida. So I like Georgia as well. I don't think they're going to be looking ahead. They're just the better team, and I think they could even spot Florida 10 points out of the gate and still come back and win. So we're both taking the Bulldogs of Georgia. Because Georgia's on our mind these days. Next game. Big tilt in the ACC Coastal Division. One of, if not the worst division in all of college football. Probably right there neck and neck with the wacky Big Ten West division. It's just awful, guys. I'll be the first Iowa fan to say that. Our division stinks. It's awful. It's bantha fodder. It's criminal almost. But so big tilt. Currently, North Carolina is leading this division. Pittsburgh had high hopes coming in. So Pitt travels to number 21 North Carolina. The game's in Chapel Hill. So Pitt is the defending Coastal and ACC champions. They won last year's title, hoisted the trophy. So big game. Can Pittsburgh get out of their funk? Can they become the team that most of us, including myself, believed they were going to be? I thought they'd be on top of this division, but somebody's got to win it. Somebody's got to just take it. It's that awful. It stinks. It's that rotten. Who wants to step up? Who wants to take it? And a win here, especially by North Carolina, would be huge for them moving forward. Pitt, it would help them get back in the race. Let's see what Sam thinks about this game. Pitt continues to struggle on the road. They did lose last week at Louisville, just to remind you guys. I think the air attack of North Carolina overcomes their weak defense, and they pull out a close one. So Sam likes the Tar Heels really close against Pitt. For me, I just said Pitt lost last week at a Louisville team that I think is average or mediocre. So that being said, I'm taking Pitt. That's right. I've got the Panthers. I think Keaton Slovis and that defense will slow down North Carolina. Kind of what Sam brought up. I think Pitt scores a huge win for Coach Pat Narduzzi. A lot of turmoil there in the Steel City. The Panthers leave Chapel Hill with the victory. Go Pitt. So I'm taking the Panthers in that matchup. Now, guys, we've reached my 6 spotlight games, my spotlight matches. I wish I could say they were sponsored and brought to you by fill in the blank, but I can't. So the first one is my Academy Game of the Week. A salute to you, the fighting men and women and all the families, veterans, current active duty members of the American Armed Forces. Thank you for all that you do. And this week, I've got Temple leaving the city of brotherly love. The Owls travel to Annapolis to take on the Navy midshipmen and that triple option attack. Let's see what Sam thinks about this game. Sam says you can never bet against the midshipmen. Navy takes this one. So he's going with the Naval Academy. Me, and I really echo what Sam said. It's hard to pick against the middies. It just is. I mean, they're excellent. Temple, not so excellent. Tough season there for the Owls. I'm taking Navy as well in this matchup. Next game we got coming your way is my non-Power 5 matchup of the week, and I love this matchup. It is a big-time game, huge one in the AAC. I'm talking number 20 Cincinnati travels to Orlando to take on UCF, the Knights, and the Gus Bus. First-year coach Gus Malzahn is getting it done there. Actually, it's his second year. Second-year coach Gus Malzahn there at UCF. See, I caught myself there. Every now and then I make a gaffe, guys. I don't do any edits. I don't do any retakes. I don't do any walkthroughs or dress rehearsals because that would just be too much work. And I've already got a legitimate day job. Just ask Sam. So, huge game in the AAC, all right? Very quietly, Cincinnati just does what they do. Find themselves ranked. They've won 6 straight. UCF is looking to carve out a lead in the AAC, the American Athletic. I can't wait to watch this game, guys. It's going to be action-packed. Let's see what Sam thinks about this game. He says UCF is tough to beat. I'd like them to win the American Athletic. So Sam not only is predicting a UCF victory, but the Knights to win the American Athletic Conference title game. Preseason, I was very high on UCF. I actually predicted that Cincinnati would go from playoff participant to not even making the American Athletic Conference title game. I picked UCF versus SMU. That was my AAC championship matchup. Actually, no, it was Houston. It was Houston versus UCF. That's who I had. I had to remember there for a second. But I've learned you can't really doubt Luke Fickell. And this is all he does, like DJ Khaled said and sang about, all he does is win, 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 no matter what. That's all that Cincinnati and Coach Luke Fickell do. I mean, he loses so much talent to the NFL, and here they are in position to not only win the conference once again, but to grab the non-Power 5 levels berth in a New Year's 6 bowl game, which would then be a 3rd straight year. What an accomplishment. So that being said, until somebody knocks them off, I'm taking Cincinnati on the road. Hostile environment in front of that crowd, the crazy Golden Knight fans. I'm taking Cincinnati. And Coach Luke Fickell, who I'm saying right now, this will be his final hoorah and go-around as head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats. I expect him to move on in the offseason to a other open non-Power 5 position. Next game is my FCS game of the week. Big-time tilt in the Southern Conference. Via the FCS polls, number 16, Mercer. The Bears travel to VMI, the Virginia Military Institute. Off of a tough loss last week for the Bears, they need to bounce back to stay in line to win the Southern Conference. Let's see what Sam thinks about this game. He simply says Mercer should win this game. He sounds confident, so he's taking Mercer. Me, I'm absolutely with Mercer and Sam. We both like the Mercer Bears to get it done. Next game is now comes on to our black and golds. First up, Missouri. The Tigers travel to the other Columbia, to Columbia, South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks. Very winnable game for Missouri. South Carolina coming off a very good win last week, convincing win against Jimbo Fisher and A&M, as I said previously this episode. So, going to be a little bit more of a tougher task for the Tigers. I think that gives the Gamecocks a little bit more confidence for this game. Let's just see. But this is a huge opportunity. I think if Missouri wins this game, they will find themselves getting bowl eligible, which a lot of people nearby here in the Show Me State and nearby Columbia didn't think was going to happen. So let's see how Sam thinks about this. And just a warning to all of you Missouri fans watching, Sam didn't hold back. I'm just going to give you that little warning, that little caveat here. So if you want to earmuffs or tune off, feel free. He says, every opportunity I have to root against Missouri, I will take it. Ouch. Ouch, baby. That one cuts deep. All right. Obviously, there's some animosity with Sam and Missouri. South Carolina will win this one. Woo, that's all he's saying. Now, Sam, to give you background, he's more of a Tennessee-Auburn guy. So he is an SEC guy. But Missouri, obviously not so much. He's taking the Gamecocks. Me, if A&M would have went into Columbia last week and won, I probably would change this pick, but I just think South Carolina, Missouri is just catching them at the wrong time. I've got to go with South Carolina as well, but I hope that I am wrong. So I'm taking the Gamecocks too as well in this matchup of our first black and gold squads. Next is Northwestern travels to Iowa to take on the Hawkeyes. It's homecoming weekend. As I stated, I'll be there among my people to celebrate not the Iowa offense, but just the Iowa team we support. We're going to do the best we can to keep our heads up and just hope to get to bowl eligibility. This is the game that Iowa must have. Northwestern comes in a little inside of this. They're playing our old nemesis, Coach Patty Fitzgerald in Northwestern, who has been a thorn in the side of Iowa since he arrived in Evanston. And I really can't talk much very bad about Patty Fitzgerald. He is my second best. He's my second main man crush in the Big Ten, behind the bald-headed beauty of P.J. Fleck. He's absolutely top dog. So I think because it's homecoming, there's a lot of outside noise. This is an opportunity for Iowa to kind of calm some of that noise about what do we do with our offense. I think they need a win to just buy themselves a little bit more time, because if they lose, guys, wow, it's going to be DEFCON 1 there in Iowa City. Because I'm there, I'm taking my kids, my daughter's first game. We want to see an Iowa victory. I'm taking the Hawks. Sam in this one, I'm sorry, I went out of order. He says, Iowa's offense is pathetic. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You could use a lot of other words, but I try to keep this PG-13 the best I can. Iowa's offense is pathetic, says Sam, but they will find a way to win this one. So we both like the Hawkeyes in this matchup. Now, guys, it's time for my spotlight game of the week. Huge tilt in the Big Ten East race potentially online. Also, playoff implications. I'm talking number 2 Ohio State, fresh off of that ass-kicking of Iowa last week. They travel to number 13 Happy Valley to take on Penn State. And this game is not the semi-annual whiteout. This is the big noon kickoff on Fox, which kicks off at 11 o'clock here Central Time. I love that tagline, by the way. The big noon kickoff. So 2 heavyweights go at it in the Valley. Penn State, they lost a couple of weeks ago. They got absolutely housed at the Big House by Michigan. They need to stay in the race for the Big Ten East, but also keep their outside playoff hopes alive. They lose this game, I think both of those things are out of reach. I can't wait for this matchup. These two teams always play tough. They always get up for each other, especially Penn State for Ohio State. The last few meetings, I believe, the average margin of victory has been Ohio State by 11 points. Some of you might be thinking, whoa, 11 points, that's not really all that close. Well, compared to what Ohio State does to everybody else, it absolutely is close. So Penn State always seems to get up. This is the best defensive secondary that Ohio State has played or may play all year. The Penn State secondary, very fast, versatile. Maybe they can hang with some of those wide receivers, those stud receivers of Ohio State. Will they have enough to pull the upset at home? We'll have to wait and see. Let's see what Sam thinks about my spotlight game of the week. He says, Ohio State will be playing in the national championship game this year. I think Ohio State wins, but not only wins, but he says wins big. So Sam didn't say, he didn't give us who his national title game winner is. He just said Ohio State will be in the national championship game. So he's taken the Buckeyes to score a huge road victory to try to make all of their hopes and dreams come true. Kind of like what Pedro said in Napoleon Dynamite. If you vote for me, I make all your wildest dreams come true. So this is something that Ohio State has to do to make those dreams come reality. They've got to win. Me, I expect a great game. I'm not going to be able to watch probably any of this because I'll be en route or at the Iowa game getting ready for the 2:30 kickoff. Watching both of these teams, I think Ohio State is trending in the right direction. Penn State, I don't know, what Sean Clifford will show up. Will the real Sean Clifford please stand up? The one who threw 4 touchdown passes last week against Minnesota, or the one that we've seen in the past. But I think also being an 11 o'clock kickoff absolutely favors Ohio State. The crowd, the fans won't be as jazzed up or juiced up quite yet. So I'm sorry, Penn State. Timmy V, another one of my colleagues. I'm pulling for your boys at Penn State. I'd love to see the upset, but I'm with Sam. I'm taking the Ohio State Buckeyes in this game, but close. Closer than what most people would think or what they would want it to be. So I'm taking Ohio State as well. Well, guys, that's it. That's the end of this episode, my Week 9 preview and picks. Once again, thank you for all you've done for the channel, your support, your attention. It is vastly appreciated, and I thank you all. It has been an absolute pleasure for me to sit here and be with you on the weekly, sharing my love and passion of everything college football with you, the Black and Gold family, and all of you college football fans far and wide, east to west and everywhere in between, north to south. So please subscribe, like, share, and comment. Check out some of my previous episodes. All the comments, that's what I want. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Next time you'll see me, I may or may not have an instant reaction to the Iowa Northwestern game because I will be traveling. Potentially look for that. If not, you can definitely find me next week, Tuesday, either Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. Look for my Week 9 review and recap episode next week. So until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe, enjoy the weekend, and also, happy Halloween to all of you. I don't quite know what I'm going to be yet. Maybe because I do have an aviation background, maybe I'll put on a headset, maybe, a little name tag Brian, wear my contacts, shave. Maybe I'll be Iowa offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz for Halloween. It's pretty damn scary right now. But happy Halloween. Kids out there watching, enjoy yourself. Hopefully the weather's great, the candy's satisfying. Happy Halloween. And until next week, I'll see you on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. See you soon. Bye-bye.